The November 1994 Battle of Grozny was an abortive coup d'etat attempt by Chechen opposition forces, sponsored and aided by the government of the Russian Federation, to seize the Chechen capital of Grozny and overthrow the Chechen president Dzhokhar Dudayev. The attack was conducted by armed formations of the Chechen Opposition Council with a clandestine support of Russian federal armor and aircraft on 26 November 1994. The fighting subdued after the first 10 hours, but some clashes continued until the following day. What was supposed to be a quick black operation of regime change against the separatist government of the Chechen Republic of Ichkeria ended in a spectacular fiasco, prompting the government in Moscow to carry out a large-scale military invasion of the republic that began in December 1994. Background: in the summer of 1994, the FSK began an active cooperation with leaders of the Chechen internal opposition against Dudayev, uniting them in a body named the Provisional Council of the Chechen Republic. Forces of Umar Avturkanov and Beslan Gantamirov received from Moscow not only money but also training and arms, including heavy weapons. The months of August and September saw the outbreak of fighting between the opposition and Dudayev's forces. By this time, the opposition had established a well-armed force of several hundred men, equipped with armored vehicles and covertly backed by Russian helicopters operating from an airbase at Mozdok, Republic of North Ossetia-Alania. This military campaign climaxed in an attack on Grozny on 15–16 October, when the militias of Gantamirov and Ruslan Labazanov unsuccessfully attempted to take the city by a joint assault for the first time. Disappointed by their failures and aware of their military weakness up to and after the October assault, the Chechen opposition, aided by an ethnic Chechen former chairman of the State Duma, Ruslan Khasbulatov, intensified their lobbying with the FSK and Russian President Boris Yeltsin's staff in favor of more direct involvement on Moscow's part. As a result, Avturkanov and Gantamirov, who by then have joined their militias, received all the weapons, instructors, training and media support they requested, setting the ground for the final assault. In October, Russia's defense minister General Pavel Grachev ordered the formation of a special task force of the Main Operations Directorate of the General Staff of the Armed Forces of the Russian Federation, led by the Deputy Chief of the Main Operations Directorate Anatoly Kvashnin and General Leontий Shevtsov, active-duty tank crewmen from Russia's elite formations in the Moscow military district, as well as other Russian personnel such as 18 helicopter crewmen from the North Caucasus military district, were recruited as mercenaries, provided with fake documents and sent into Chechnya. A transport of 50 additional armored vehicles were also brought in by the FSK. The issues of recruitment and transfer of weapons involved the deputy director of the FSK in charge of supervising the Caucasus attack. On the 22nd of November, the Provisional Council began preparing their final assault on Grozny. A large group of Russian officers led Chief of General Staff Mikhail Kolzunov flew from Moscow to Mozdok, and the direct supervision of combat operations was entrusted to the Deputy Commander of Russia's 8th Guards Army Corps from Volgograd, General Gennady Zhukov. A convoy of Russian armored vehicles entered the territory of Chechnya. The first clash took place 10 kilometers from the border near Tolstoy Yurt, when a small group of Dudayev's supporters ambushed the convoy and disabled 2 tanks. On the following day, en route towards Urus-Martin, the convoy was again attacked near the settlement of Alkankala, resulting in a loss of another tank. In spite of this, the pro-Dudayev's forces in Grozny were believed to be unable to organize resistance to such a large-scale attack. On the morning of the 26th of November, the Russian and their Chechen allies entered the capital in the motorized columns advancing from 2 directions: Nadterichny district and Urus-Martanovsky district, supported by several unmarked Federal attack aircraft. According to Chechen commander Dalkan Kozayev, the coup force in Grozny numbered 42 T-72 main battle tanks, 8 BTR-80 armored personnel carriers, various other vehicles, a number of aircraft, and more than 3,000 men. Russian sources give similar figures of about 40 to 42 tanks, supported from air by 6 helicopters and 6 Sukhoi Su-27 air superiority fighters, but give much lower figures of no more than 1,000–1,500 allied Chechen militiamen. The attack was met with an improvised but fierce defense by the Chechen government forces and loyalist militias in the city center, including an ambush near the Chechen presidential palace and the fighting at the state security headquarters, the railway station and the television center. Soon the assault turned into a disaster as the defenders burned or captured most of the attacking armored vehicles, capturing scores of Russian servicemen in the process, and completely routed the opposition. Casualties. According to Western sources, over 300 people died and the attackers lost most of their vehicles. In addition, 4 Russian helicopter gunships and 1 Sukhoi Su-25 close air support aircraft were reportedly downed. According to the figures cited by Human Rights Watch and Armuth, between 70 and 120 Russian service personnel were taken prisoner. Dudayev's loyalists claimed killing 350 attackers, destroying about 20 tanks and capturing 4 or 5 after the crews surrendered or fled. According to a 2010 count by Kavkaz Center, 20 tanks, 23 armored personnel carriers and 18 infantry fighting vehicles were destroyed. 3 tanks, 8 APCs and 4 IFVs were captured, 300 to 450 opposition militia and 70 Russian mercenaries were killed, hundreds more were wounded, and 150 to 200 were taken prisoner, including about 35 officers of the Guards divisions Tamanskaya and Kantemirovskaya. All that remained of the Russian tank force and the Chechen opposition formations had left the city on the same day. According to Russian sources, 40 to 50 men were taken prisoner and all but 18 tanks were lost. By one Russian count, the pro-Moscow forces suffered 40 killed and 168 wounded on the first day. Another Russian source alleged that 70 opposition fighters from Kenyurt, who had surrendered at the TV station, were then beheaded by Dudayev's National Guard. Aftermath. This defeat was catastrophic, not only in military but also in political terms. Any Russian complicity and knowledge of the operation was at first denied by Moscow, but then acknowledged after 20 captured Russian servicemen were paraded before television cameras and Dudayev threatened to shoot them if Yeltsin would not recognize his own soldiers. On the 1st of December, Yeltsin vowed to help the Russian prisoners, the first indirect acknowledgement of Russian involvement. A failure of the coup attempt exhausted Russia's means of waging war against Dudayev by proxy means and leading to launching an all-out direct intervention in December 1994. On 28 November, the Security Council of Russia met in an emergency meeting, adopting a secret decision to prepare a plan for a military operation in Chechnya within 14 days. And Russia's Prime Minister Viktor Chernomyrdin called on for Yeltsin to restore the constitutional order in the Chechen Republic. On the same day, a large airstrike by the Russian military aviation eliminated every military and civilian aircraft available to Dudayev's government and destroyed the runways at both airfields near Grozny. On 29 November, Yeltsin gave Chechnya 48 hours to disband all illegal armed formations, disarm, and release all prisoners. On 10 December 1994, tens of thousands of Russian regulars were ordered to move towards Grozny from Dagestan, Ingushetia and North Ossetia, and the First Chechen War officially began.